Yes, it is. Yes, it is. All right.
There we go.
Um, Hello everyone. My name is Julius. I'm here with another. It's been a minute since I've done a We Tolerate Comics podcast, but I have a very special, cool guest here. The soon to be future author of Batman, as it were. I wouldn't be surprised if one day this guy takes over the main story of the Dark Knight, as it were. It is Mr. Joshua Ford, who is in charge of this great motion comic of a story of the Batman of the Robert Pattinson uh, legacy, as it were, and we've gotten contact. We've been talking, corresponding for the last couple of weeks and everything, and I'm very excited to talk to you, man. Thank you so much for joining me.
No, of course, dude. Thanks for having me. It was cool because, the way we met through good old YouTube, the good old YouTube algorithm, how it brings lives together. So, because I saw your stop motion that you made of your Batman too, which was awesome. I really
Thank
liked
you.
it. It was just powerful, man. Like the quotes, it was just really cool, and it went like perfectly with the movie. And it seems like it would be like, an opening scene to a Batman movie. So I was like, this is cool. So I had to drop a comment, and I was surprised that you knew like our channel and everything, because I don't know, I'm like under the it's weird when I get like, replies to being like people knowing like who we are in the comic, because it's just like been a surreal experience. So like when you replied, you're like, "Oh, this is like cool." And I was like, "Oh, it's cool that you know me." And I it's just like a cool little fun moment. So I'm definitely glad to be here and talk about some great nerd stuff, because nerds make the world go around. So
We are the last line of defense for the world spinning, you know. I think that,
yeah.
this has obviously been a really tough year, and I think the main reason is because the Batman 2 is not coming out this year. Uh,
Yeah. It's
you know.
crazy to think it was supposed to come out this October of 2025. I remember that. I was looking like, or like I had a story about it on Instagram, like I guess when they first announced it was 2025, and I like posted on my story like I will be unavailable this week, just so you guys know. But of course now it's not gonna happen for another 2-ish years, so who knows? I
Yeah.
definitely will be available that week now. So, but
Yeah,
no,
for real.
it's been a back and forth thing with that movie, so I'm just holding on to hope and seeing what happens with the rest of the franchise. So yeah.
Well, that's why I appreciate, and I know a whole lot of other people appreciate like what you guys are doing with the motion comic, because obviously it's set after the events of the Batman and everything. What I'm curious, and it's a really cool story that we'll talk about in depth and everything, but I'm curious before we start talking about just Batman in general, when you're coming up with that story, was the idea this is the Batman part two, or you're looking at it like this is a story set between what came out and what will come out?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So when I first wrote it, which was back summer of 2022, I wrote it with the intentions of it being a sequel, just based on how I was writing it, because I was like, okay, what would it look like for this story to continue? And because I wanted to, keep it like consistent with the characters, the universe. And so I read like the prequel novel that had like Dex Starling and like his early life and stuff. And I was like, these are cool characters and I want to see like this story go somewhere. But at the same time, I was like digesting all this other Batman media, like I was watching a lot of the animated series then.
Hmm.
The Gotham TV show was what got me back into Batman. And then like, Mask of the Phantasm being a great movie. And then a couple other comments like Dark Victory and things like that. So I had a lot going on in my head Batman wise. I was like, okay, what would it look like to just like have all of this come together? Like to have
Yeah.
Bruce just like thrown into all these crazy situations, to include like, Dick Grayson, because Robin's my favorite superhero. So I was like, first and foremost, I want to get him into the story. So it was in my mind, like when I was writing it and scripting it out, kind of like a sequel, just for like continuation aspects, but I wanted it to be like different because obviously it's not like canon to the universe. So I want people to like just read it and then kind of be like, oh, this is like a fun little thing in its own world, but it also makes sense like in relation to the movie. Like if you were to watch this between the Batman movie and then the Batman Part 2, I would kind of want it to be like seamless in a sense. Even though I'm sure the Batman Part 2, I think it's coming out like timeline wise, like winter of like the same year of the movie, because like the Penguin was like a week after, so I think they're sticking to like that timeline. Our story takes place 7 months after the movie, so it's like in the summertime. So it's a good bit of time has passed, but I think it's still like essentially a good continuation because we're like seeing a different side of Bruce. Like it takes a long time to have change happen, and so that's kind of like what the story is about, is like just seeing that change through Bruce. So I like it as an Elseworld story, and since I'm not being like paid by DC, I can't like, have it be like a sequel type of story because I don't want it to like infringe on any of like the copyright stuff or whatever. So, yeah, it's just its own little fun story. That's why it's called the story of the Batman. When I think the original title was like Batman the Animated Sequel because I had it like, as a sequel, but then I was like, okay, it has to be like Elseworlds. I'm like, what can this story be called? What can this story about Batman be called? Wait a second. It's like that Fantastic Four meme, like say that again. But
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
but no, that's kind of how it got rolling there.
Well, that's great. I love the tone of it. It really does feel like a cool um progression of that world, and especially like I mean this in the best way possible. This does what I felt like Batman Forever should have done, with
Mhm.
Joel
Yeah.
Schumacher when he took over for Tim Burton and everything.
Hmm.
Because obviously they're very, in many ways they're similar stories and everything, and there's a similar dynamic going on with Dick and Bruce and everything. But this just
Yeah.
this has a really heavy emotional weight to it, so
Hmm.
that was really powerful about watching it, and that mixed with the beautiful artwork in the book and everything. I mean, come
Yeah.
on, man. That's some really powerful stuff.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, it's definitely a lot of like it's an emotionally driven story. Batman's an emotionally driven character, and the reason why I connected with Pattinson's Batman so much is because of the emotional aspect. Like when I watched it in 2022, like I was going through a pretty rough time, like mentally, and just like trying to like figure out what I wanted to do in life and things like that. And like before that, like a couple months, I had basically binge watched the Gotham TV show, so my brain was already set to like this Batman world. And so when I saw this like sad, like broken looking Robert Pattinson Batman on screen, I was like, he just like me for real. So I just like connected. And I just kept watching the movie over and over again because it just like it took me to a place where I didn't have to really like think, and I like that about stories is when I can like sit down and watch something and I don't have to like think about like anything else that's going on like in my life or in the world or whatever. And so that just kind of inspired me in a way to like one continuous story and just make it kind of like how the movie is, an emotionally driven story, because like Batman started from a place of trauma, and the movie ended in a place of, well, I need to change and become hope. And it's like, that's cool and all, but like, how do you do that? And so I think in one of your podcast episodes, too, I don't know if it was you, but or someone else mentioned like
Mhm.
kind of the same note, like at the end of the movie, is like, I want Bruce to like put his money where his mouth is. And that's
Oh
kind of like
yeah.
what this story is about, is Bruce like trying to put his money where his mouth is, sometimes like physically, like, with his donations, but it's like, Mariel's pushing him to do a bit more, like to make more appearances. And like, Alfred's always pushing him, and Bruce is like, I don't care what you say, Alfred. But we do see like a different side of Bruce. Like he comes out of his shell a lot, especially in like this upcoming episode that we have dropping on January 31st. I'm really proud of this one. It's definitely our best one yet. Like it keeps getting better and better, if I do say so myself. But it's been really
Mhm.
fun to like put it all together and watch it grow. But yeah, no, I don't know how that question started, but it's just going on. But it's just been a really fun thing.
Well, I love that, and it's the same with I think most of us fans of Batman is that we find a lot of comfort uh within the lore. You know, it could be in any interpretation, but especially in the Pattinson version, there's a lot of he's dealing with since he doesn't have that Bruce Wayne persona locked in, and he's kind of
Mhm.
trapped in the Batman just legend. um he is very angry, and it sounds like you had a lot of you found some catharsis while actually writing, and creating this story and everything, which I absolutely love. That's why I love that Robin is in there, because first of all, we need to see Robin at some point,
Yeah.
but I've always looked at him as like a figure of healing in Batman's whole identity, so I absolutely love that part of the story.
Yeah, no, I mean Robin is exactly that, he's like a changing point for Bruce because like, similar circumstances brought them together and um and kind of like kept them together in a sense of Bruce, in like the sense of our story. Like I wanted Robin to be included in like a way that makes sense and for like it to proceed in a way that makes sense. So I'm really excited for the story to get focused back more onto Dick Grayson because it does, but that's more in like part three. But yeah, no, it's fun to work with their dynamic, because Dick Grayson being my favorite character, like his emotions and getting to like bring that out and make it like mesh with Pattinson's world has been really fun. And Jackson and K, our artists, Jackson Duran, Kate Richardson, do a really good job of like bringing that to life. Because they like nailed like essentially there will be like scenes that he's in. I like always think of this one scene like in the tower. It's like a really just like generic scene of like, him introducing himself to Bruce. And like Bruce is kind of like more in the shadows, and then Dick Grayson's just like bright and bubbly, like with the sun coming in through the windows and stuff like
Mhm.
that. Even though he's like has a lot of tragedy still, he's still like kind of like a ray of hope in a sense of like, okay, I might not have gotten it right the first time, but maybe I can like do something and help this kid. So, it's been really fun because Dick Grayson, while he's like on the heels of his own parents dying and he's trying to deal with that, he's also like, whoa, I get to stay with like a rich billionaire. I wonder what type of cool stuff we can get into here. So it's like finding that balance of like having him being like really fun, but also like having him also like be really angry and like kind of similar to Bruce, kind of like wanting revenge on Tony Zuko, who's still like running out free in Gotham, and the police don't seem to be like really focusing on it too much because in our story there's another serial killer, then there's Joe Chill, who this big reveal happened and everything. So Dick Grayson, he might try and take things into his own hands, but it's been really fun trying to piece it all together in that sense.
Yeah, I mean, if there were aspects of the of this story that found its way rather by inspiration, coincidence, whatever, into the actual sequel of the Batman, I wouldn't be surprised at all, because of how you're approaching the story of like, okay, what's the logical progression for the characters we want to see in Batman's world, specifically Pattinson. So I love that effort and everything. The way I learned about this project was through the artists. Actually, I followed them on Instagram, and I saw that they were doing this, and they're posting panels and everything. I'm like,
Hmm.
like, is 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 DC like putting this out, like, because
Yeah.
they do that, with Riddler and everything. So
Uh,
um I know initially you wanted this to be stop motion, right?
yeah.
This story. Um, so can you talk a little bit about the transition from that vision to a motion comic?
Yeah, for sure. So I wrote the script and everything kind of like as a screenplay, as scripts go. Um, and I had the whole script, and essentially I wanted it to be a stop motion in which I was going to do like most of the animating and everything for because I've done like stop motions in the past, but not at like this scale. And then it just turned out like my then job I got like promoted at back then, and I was like, oh well, I won't have enough time to do this, so I should probably like maybe go with like animation or art. And so I we landed on the idea of a motion comic. Um, and I've been familiar with motion comics just because of like The Legend of Korra, like the sequel to the Avatar The Last Airbender. Like
Yeah.
I read like all the sequel comics that came after it, and I read them as like a motion comic first because I found them on YouTube. I was like, this is really cool. And so in college, my friend Spencer, who does like the metallic pieces for our project, he and I like we just were messing around and we were like doing the voices for the Korra comic and like I edited together and everything. And it was just a really fun experience getting to do that. And so I was like, I can maybe do this again, but like serious. So
Hmm.
that obviously, you need artists for it. And Jackson Durr was literally the first guy I thought of because, I followed him too on Instagram. I've seen his work like everywhere. I was like, I'll just email him, see what he says. I don't know if it'll quite work out. He responded in like 24 hours. He was like, yes, sign me up. I was like, all right, we're in business. And then 6 months later, we got Kay Richardson to do the colors. And she's been incredible. Like it's crazy to see like the progression of like the pages, like going from sketches to fully colored and everything. It's always crazy to me. But the transition from motion comic or stop motion to motion comic, um I had most of the voice lines recorded like before I made the switch too. Like when I made the auditions for the piece for like our main voice actors, it was as a Lego piece for pretty much like 75% of the voice lines that we did, or maybe 50. But and it translated perfectly. Like we got a really, really talented voice cast. Um, we like Joe Passaro is our Richard Grayson, Danny Doyle is our Joe Chill, and I really love this Joe Chill so much. I think he did a great
Yeah.
job, and he's just been a fun character to get to create and everything. So he's really fun. And then Gavin Duff is our Alfred, Gary Lyons as our Jim Gordon, and then I voiced Batman because it's my project. Why not do it? I literally
Dude, I'm with you.
I literally like when I would watch the Batman too, like I would just like, say the lines along with Pattinson. I was like, wait a second, I can kind of do this voice like where I have like confidence to like, actually do it on this large scale. And thankfully I've gotten good feedback on it. So I'm gonna keep doing it. So yeah,
Hell
it's
yeah,
been
dude.
fun.
Yeah, no, it is a very good impression you emulate his Pattinson, his Batman very well, and that's part of what makes it really convincing. I really like the Joe Chill also. I don't want you to spoil anything, but what I will say is that I really want to see this Joe Chill meet up with Oswald. I think that would be a really interesting meeting. Um, did are so are the current like entries into the Reeves verse influencing the projects at all? Like the Penguin just coming out and everything. Has that uh kind of guided how you guys are, directing these?
Yeah, so in the sense of like the storyline itself, no, because the script has been written and basically like finalized for like over a year essentially. Like we'll switch. So what we
Mhm.
do with the artist is we like look at it basically every day because we're doing it page by page. Because like I said, I wrote it as a screenplay. Then I had to break it down into like a motion comic. So I'll have the scene, like we have this big document that I share with the artist as well as the translator, um, where I'll block it off into this is page one, this is page two, and I'll have all the quotes and details of like what's what. And like we'll go over this in like a meeting on almost a monthly basis about like what we want to do and things like that. So as far as like what influences it, there has been an influence because with the Penguin show coming out and it was, an awesome show. I loved it so much. There was
Mhm.
for example, like our news reporter, like who's our main news reporter in our comic, has the appearance of Summer Gleason from Batman the Animated Series. But
Yeah.
in the Penguin show, spoilers for people who haven't seen the Penguin, so I'm sorry if you can skip 5 seconds if you haven't seen the Penguin. But Summer Gleason, died in the Penguin show, and so. I texted Jackson. I was like, Jackson, she's dead in this universe. What do we do? We've already colored those pages and everything. And he was like, it's fine. We're an Elseworld story. We're not trying to like emulate it or anything, and it's cool to have some sort of separation. But we do like include a couple like little things in the background. Like you'll see actually in this episode or this upcoming episode, two examples of it. Like just in the sense of like, Bruce is Batman and after the Batman movie kind of disappeared for a bit and everyone's like, where is he during these events of the Penguin? And
Yeah.
so Bruce has been like doubting himself like in this episode and in this one panel Jackson kind of does like this news report story that kind of like goes over it briefly. It's just in like the background, but you can like read a couple sentences of it. So that's like a kind of little Easter egg thing. Then there's another like little Easter egg for Bliss in the comic too, like the drug that Oz was trying to destroy like that. Because drops are like the main thing. And so like on the streets, like Jackson does a lot with like graffiti and like the background stuff because he'll like he does like the pencils and ink so he'll like outline it and kind of like he throws in a lot of Easter eggs like some things I don't like catch the first time I was like oh did this number have significance he's like yeah this is like Robin's first edition number I was like oh that's in there too but no there's like a Bliss reference at the end of this episode so it's like and even oh I won't say that one but it's
Oh,
in
okay. All right. I'm intrigued.
yeah, there's another, it's a name drop essentially of a person. And we actually have two cameos of while we're on the topic of it, of like two members of the Rogues Gallery show up in this one with a
Oh,
larger role than the other. But we love to throw in stuff like that. Like Jackson will just throw in things when he can. And like when I like go over the script and I'm like, okay, maybe this character could show up or we can dabble in this little piece here. Just anything to do to like kind of connect it and make things feel a bit more familiar. Um, in a like way that makes sense, not to just like throw people in sometimes. But I think we've had a good balance of it. So there are a lot of like ties to what the movie has done and like, the TV show and how it's like progressing in that way. So yeah, it's like little things like that because we didn't really make too much huge changes like to the script.
of course. Well, you can be real with me, man. It's Superman who shows up, right?
Yeah, you got it, man. As Superman shows up at the end, and when Batman's like, "Who are you?" and they just like fly off into the sunset, and in the end, it's just like Justice League coming soon. So
Yeah.
that's the big drop.
Super.
I'm writing the next Justice League movie. That's the big
Yo,
drop.
hell yeah, dude. Well, if you need someone to voice the Penguin, you can always reach out to me,
Okay, all right.
just in case. I'm not sure. I don't if I don't want to spoil anything. I don't know if that is a spoiler or not, but I can send you some audition tapes. All right.
Hey, I mean, I can't do the penguin voice, so I would need someone to do it. So, I mean, I like mess around and such a funny voice, but if you can seriously do it, we might have to see what'll happen. So, we'll see, we'll
Well,
see.
we'll see. We'll see. I got my in honor of our discussion, I brought my boy out, you
Oh
know,
yeah.
uh the
It's the star himself.
the star himself.
There
Um
we go.
so Uh, what do you, I mean, I know that when I finished watching your story, The Penguin, I recently watched The Batman again and everything. Um, I know that it just gave me that feeling of like, okay, this is kind of like the adult version of the animated series, and I love what you're talking about, how you wanted to originally call it the Batman animated sequel. I think that's
Mhm.
awesome. Um, how much of that, like, how much of the animated series do you think has played like uh, inspiration to just Batman in like contemporary time, because that was a series from the 90s homaging stuff from the 30s and 50s,
Right.
and like Pattinson says, I'm vengeance, so
hmm
what do you think about that?
No, I mean it's definitely like one of the greatest like Batman stories, and with it being like it's crazy to think that it was like from the 90s and everything like that, because it's like,
Mhm.
we still watch it like today, and there's a couple of movies that came from it. So it's definitely had a good influence on a lot of media, and for good reason. Kevin Conroy being like the GOAT did like an amazing job with the voice. The episodes were just like, it was just fun. It's each time the episodes end, I'm like, oh, I can't believe this is only like 20 minutes. I want more. And there's like 50 episodes a season or whatever, but still. Um, but no, I think it influences a lot because, like you said, it was influenced by like, the comics and everything. So a lot of different storylines like went into it. And a lot of people grew up with that TV show. So a lot of our interpretations of these characters came from the animated series. Like Robin being my favorite character did come more from like the Teen Titans TV shows like growing up, but I also loved the animated series Batman just because of like his look and everything, and like also the fact that it wasn't in like too many episodes, and I was like, yes, Robin episode. So it was just cool to like see him get involved in everything. But no, I think a lot of people, just because we like grew up with the show, it's just like, every time we like see Batman media, we can't help but like sometimes compare it to the animated series. So like in our comic too, we do draw a lot of inspiration from like a couple of iconic episodes, like the Robin's Reckoning ones, since it is kind of like the beginning of Batman and Robin in a sense. And so it's for good reason, that it's, still a talked about TV show. It's still watched a lot and regarded as a high form of media because, it is. It's been super, it's still one of my favorite shows to watch. Like sometimes if I'm like going through the list in my head of like, okay, I don't want to watch this show, I don't want to like that show, I'm like, okay, I guess I'll watch an episode of the animated series. So it's no, it's definitely a fun show, and I think it'll continue to be like, sprinkled in with other things because like the way they did the villains too, like that they included so many different villains in a great way. Obviously, Joker was like a mainstay, and Two-Face, who's my favorite villain. But even like smaller ones like Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy were shown a lot. And it's just like, I don't know, they just did like a really good job with all like the villains and everything. So it's just like when you think about Batman, you that's like one of the first things you think about. So yeah.
Yeah, well, I know that with at least my little short thing with the Batman figure and stuff, when I was starting to record the lines for it, there was a moment where it's like, I was intimidated before recording the lines because of the influence of Kevin Conroy, even with something as this isn't an actual like paid gig or whatever, it's something I'm doing
For
it
sure.
for the love of it. But I think that's part of why I get more nervous is like, I want to get the right cadence. I want to, he really set the bar.
Oh yeah.
He's brought up, if we're talking about who's the best Batman, he's going to be brought up no matter what. Did
Yeah,
did you feel
exactly.
that way when you started recording lines as Batman?
Kind of, sort of. I would definitely like, because obviously the Batman voice, like even with all the different iterations of Batman, everyone has like this voice in their head that is Batman. And I feel like it's like a mixture of Kevin Conroy and like Christian Bale in a sense, is like at
Mhm.
least in my head of like what Batman sounds like in a general sense. Like, because obviously Christian Bale went like really heavy with like the deep, growly voice that everyone knows, and I'm Batman and things like that. Um, and sometimes like there are lines where I have to like think more like that, because when like I was obviously thinking more of like, Pattinson's cadence was like the one thing in my mind. Like I would like watch his scenes before I did the lines and like practice with those lines to like get there essentially. But when it's like more deeper and like yelly lines, then it's like, okay, how do I make it sound like convincing and good and not just sound like a really like, someone just trying to do a Batman voice essentially. So it is nerve-wracking for sure. Like it's hard to like get out of your own head sometimes when you're doing a character like Batman, because like so many people like essentially, idolize it and have like their own view of it. So you just gotta like turn your brain off sometimes. And I was just like, okay, just gonna do these lines and in the way I know how it should be and just go from there. And I think that, produces the best results. But it definitely is like intimidating going into, wherever I would basically record the lines in like a closet because I don't have like a studio or anything. So I just like get in there, get the mic and everything, and go into Batman mode, then come out and listen to it and things like that. But it is intimidating. It's it's tough and it's cool like looking back at it on the motion comic and things like that and hearing my voice and hearing other people like literally because we did a premiere in my hometown here and
Oh, no
like
way. That's so cool.
yeah, yeah, it was fun. It was super fun. We did it for the part one since it was like an hour long thing. So like people in my family like even though they've heard it like bits of it before, they're like, I completely forgot that that was you like doing the Batman last. I'm like, good. That's how it should
Yeah.
be. So like
Because
things
I
like
am Batman.
exactly. You can't just like, live as Batman at home. You just gotta go when you can. So but no, they had to find out that way that I'm Batman. So I'm the Batman of the beach, basically, because I live by the beach. So
Oh,
we
nice.
we fight surfing Joker and have the shark, the bat shark repellent and things like that here.
Yo, dude, I listen. That's the coolest version of Gotham City because there are high tides. They're punching sharks. It looks like Los Angeles in the 60s. Let's go. Best Gotham City ever.
Exactly. That's how Gotham should be. That's the next movie that they're gonna drop is Batman the Beach Man.
Dude, hell yeah. This is a little sidebar, but I've always told my friends, when we're talking about Batman and everything, in real life, the scariest Batman would be Adam West. Because if a guy came up to you at night dressed like that,
True.
that's terrifying.
And I
It's
mean, this guy he would carry around bombs too, like bombs the size of his body. Like imagine just like turning around and just see a guy dressed like that with a huge bomb. It's like, are you
dude.
a superhero? You're trying to like blow up the city. So it's like, no, I might have to. That's a good point. Adam West, as goofy as he is with his little like dances and orange juice and everything, he would be like a scary sight, in the middle of the night. And I always think of like that one scene in the Batman movie where he's first entering the Iceberg Lounge as Batman. Like imagine you're just like tripping in the club and you're just having a good time and you turn around and you just see this guy in a bat suit just like trudging by you and just start beating people up. It's like, okay, it's time for me to go home. So
For real, dude. Someone has to do an edit where it is that scene of Pattinson breaking into the lounge and stuff, and then it's you just cut to the other side, and it is Adam West doing
Adam
the
West.
whole the Bat 2 scene.
That
That
would
would
be
be
an,
fire.
yeah, that would be an amazing edit.
Yeah, man. No, Batman is like one of those characters that's like become so synonymous. It's risen, in my opinion, risen above pop culture, to where it's like you can literally talk to anyone and it would be a different conversation about Batman every time. You
Yeah,
could
I
talk to
mean,
your
he's
mom
got his
about
own
Batman.
Hollywood star now too, so it's crazy.
Yeah, exactly, dude. I really love I love Batman.
Yeah, man. Batman's the best.
He's the GOAT. Prep time.
For sure.
Fear has a way of gripping us, paralyzing us, makes you not want to believe your own eyes. Like, what's happening won't actually take place.
My parents, they were fearless. My life is forever changed because of Zuko. I have this itch to do something about it.
Become someone who isn't gripped by fear.
The ghost.
The ghost.
Ghost.
Your angel of death awaits.
Listen, with all this ghost activity going on, people have been a little wary of vigilantes. Being the captain, I have to be a bit more careful now.
The city's views are changing. The city needed the Batman. I needed the Batman. Things are different now.
That's Dex.
The girl you fancied a few years back?
You still race cars? I I guess you do still have it.
Today's the day, boys. We take down that ghost, get back to business. A newly formed business.
It's okay. The Bat wants to help.
The name's Joe Chill. You'll have to follow my lead till we catch this ghost together.
You're a good person, Bruce.
You are a good role model.
I still believe in you, man.
I know vengeance won't solve anything. What's the alternative? What's the alternative for guys like Jill? Maybe I do bring back vengeance. This one time, and put an end to the Batman.
For sure.
Okay. Well, one thing I wanted to know about the project was, um, and it has to do with the art and everything, with characters as specific as like Robin, like Dick Grayson Robin, introducing a version into this story. Um, do you like ask the artist of like, I have an idea of what he looks like, and I would like it to be played by this actor. Can you emulate those features and everything? How do you guys approach that?
Yeah, so with new characters like Robin, um, because he's like, brand new to this universe. Um, he was actually one of the first characters that we like storyboarded in a way, and it was like me and Jackson at the time. We were trying to get a sense of like the style of, art that we're gonna use for the characters. So, I sent him like a couple of like reference pictures of like just different actors who just like gave me like Robin vibes in a sense. One of them was Leo Howard, who was Jack and Kickin' It if you were a Kickin' It fan back in the day. Then there was um like the facial structures of like this one like NFL linebacker, Luke Kuechly. And then there was like another person as well. Like we threw a couple different like people in there who just kind of like gave that Robin vibe, whether it was like look or voice or anything like that. And then like, different clothes and things like that that he would wear. So he's a combination of a couple different people in terms of like his look. But he's like 13 years old in our story. Um, so and he's an acrobat, so he's like pretty fit and everything still. So it's kind of like just like kind of like throwing together different people who like look like him, give off the same type of vibe, things like that, and just kind of going with it. I feel like we got a good look for this Robin. I mean, kind of does like look like not like a younger Pattinson, but they do like if Bruce Wayne's looking at that Robin, he can definitely like see himself like in him essentially. So that was a part of it too. And then like other characters like Dex Starling, who was in the prequel novel. Obviously, it's a novel. There weren't like any pictures in it. That one was fun to bring to life, and I feel like we like nailed it in every aspect. In a sense, like the voice actor too, Isabella Tugman, she did like a fantastic job. She actually auditioned for the role of Robin. Um, but I gave it to another person, but I was like, okay, her voice is cool, and I actually think she could fit this other character really well. And thankfully, she thought so too. And she's been great in that role. But it was fun bringing Dex to life because she was from the novel and she's like, like a street racer. So we were trying to figure out like, okay, she's gonna have her auto shop. She probably dresses like pretty like, basic, like, jeans, leather jacket, things like that. So it was fun bringing her to life, and I think we did a good job of it. So it's really fun to expand upon like new characters and then like, bringing back characters that people may know and bringing it to life in a different way in a sense. So it's been a cool balance of trying to like make it work out in a sense. So it's definitely fun to see it all come to life in that way.
Yeah, well, I love the bringing up, those characters that help build up the kind of the Bat family and just Bruce's more willingness to open. I love that in the story we get to see a lot more of the relationship between Bruce and Robin, Alfred, progress to that relationship that we have come to know through comics and other films and everything shows, because if there was anything that was lacking in the Batman for me, it was that dynamic, just because they have a lot more to focus on
Right.
and Alfred gets blown up thing, you
Yeah,
know.
that was his big
Um
part.
yeah, exactly. But this was very like a lot of the sequences are very classic Bruce Wayne and Alfred, which I really appreciated, especially during the circus scene where he's like pushing him towards the girl and everything. I love that.
No, yeah, I appreciate it. Because those scenes are really fun to write. Like I really enjoyed writing the Bruce and Alfred scene because I do agree, like, it's kind of like not lacking in the film, but definitely like you said, it wasn't like a huge focus. So I like playing off of that because there was like a lot of potential there. Like obviously they butt heads a lot, and they will definitely butt heads a lot more in this comic. A lot of things will come up. But it was really fun because I do love that circus scene. Because he's like Alfred's trying to like because he knows Dex would be like good for Bruce, and he just honestly wants to see Bruce like get out of his shell more and kind of do some things he normally wouldn't do. So like, getting him to sit up in the nicer seats and like asking her questions about the auto shop, and like everyone seems to know Dex basically. So it's just like it's been a really fun dynamic playing off the three of them, and then you'll see a lot more of Bruce and Dex in this next episode. Um so it's been really fun to explore like Bruce's dynamics with different people because like I said, it's like a story of his growth essentially. And in the first movie is like basically just like Batman and Gordon and Batman and Alfred essentially. And so this is like him interacting with so many other people like the mayor, even like the different villains like Joe Chill, who he's kind of working with in a sense. So that continues to play out. So it's been really fun to pull out this side of Bruce, getting him to actually smile and laugh and things like that too. So it's been really fun.
Well, it's really cool to see Joe Chill become in this iteration, kind of like the next big heavy hitter, because, Batman's arch nemesis is of course the Joker. But Joe Chill really was like the first one, who set him on the path, to the point where certain iterations make the Joker the killer of Bruce Wayne's parents, you know what I mean? Like in
Right.
'89 and everything.
Mhm.
So I think that's a really unique take that the next Batman villain is his first one, you know? Um and I think it's just a really fun, story dynamic here, you know?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. No, Joe Chill's really fun. And I like this version. Danny Doyle, who voices him, actually, he auditioned for the role of Alfred as well. And I was like Gavin Duff, who is our Alfred, like his voice is just like Andy Serkis. I was like, I have to go with this guy. But I'm like, Danny, like when I heard his voice in a couple of his samples, I was like, what if we made this Joe Chill? And Joe Chill typically, I don't think he's depicted as like from the UK or anything like that. But I didn't think it really like mattered too much. And I thought it was like a nice little mix to it because he just like, I don't know, the voice just like goes so well with him, I feel. And Danny did a good job of like, he's a very determined criminal. Like he's like you said, trying to like prove himself and work his way up the ranks. And so it was really fun because my friend Spencer created like a killer theme for him, and that scene was just like so fun to put together. And so he's been a fun character. I feel like he's definitely isn't in a lot of Batman media. Like he's in the comics a good bit, but like in terms of on screen, he's usually just like a shadowed figure. Obviously in the Dark Knight he had some time there. But no, it was fun to bring him to life in this way, and I feel like it's another like different take in a sense, so it'll make people think like differently of him. So yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me of in that show that came out a while ago, Batman Brave and the Bold, when they made Joe Chill, like they
Yeah.
incorporated him with the gang of villains, and
Hmm.
it's maybe the best episode of that series where
Yeah,
uh there's the Spectre and the Phantom Stranger and everything, and
yeah, no, that was a
um
fun one.
yeah, it was a really fun one, and they utilized him in a very similar way, so yeah, I'm really excited for it. It feels like it's out of like The Departed, this interpretation of Joe Chill, or like a Scorsese kind of interpretation of that, where it's like, um, like it's just evil for evil's sake here, you know?
Yeah. Pretty much. He's just a bad guy and he doesn't mind being a bad guy. He's like, this is what I'm born to do and I'm gonna keep doing it until I can't do it anymore, basically. So, yeah.
Yeah, I killed Bruce Wayne's parents. Hell yeah.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, he hasn't talked about it in so long, so now he's like, okay, I guess I'll talk about it now. I'm tired of being disrespected. He's like, put some
I'll
respect.
own it.
He's like, I did it, and I would do it again in a heartbeat. Give me another kid's parents. Oh, I'll kill them too.
Exactly. Yeah, no, it's really cool, man. And I'm really just I'm excited to see this new episode because it's gonna be really a really cool one. And the artwork that I've seen is like for the cover that you've released is dope as hell, the with the
Thank
statue and everything. You
Yeah.
know, is is writing comics a has it become a goal for you? Because I know this started as something else, but has this medium taken you?
Yeah, no. So the project, originally I knew it was going to be an ambitious project, whether it was going to be a stop motion or whatever it wanted to be. I wanted it to like be a big thing essentially. And I was like, I want to see like what I'm capable of doing and how far I could take it. So I didn't know exactly like where it would take me and like, obviously meeting cool people like you has been like a highlight of it. And so like comic writing has been like really fun and just like the position I'm in where I get to, interact with the voice actors, choosing them and working with them and then, working with the artists every day incorporating the music. My brother creates the main scores and themes, and we'll talk about it like for the scene that's coming up in this episode, like the last like, symphonic piece. It's a powerful one, and it was it was funny because we're always like, "You're cooking today," and he's like, "I fear I might have cooked too hard with this one." He's like, "I think I scared myself a little bit with this," so it's been a fun process, just like creating this comic, and I couldn't have expected any of it when I started it, but it's been something that I want to continue to do for sure. Like I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of different like paths I could take with it. And I haven't like I have some things in mind, of like next steps, but I feel like it's just like a lot of options in a sense, and I kind of want to do like everything because I just love every aspect of storytelling. And I think this project has put me in a unique position to where I can, be in all of those places at once, like, interacting with fans, interacting with our cast and crew, and just like obviously creating the material and everything aside from like the art and stuff. But just like working with all this talent has been super cool and it's definitely made me want to do like definitely like more motion comics too. Like it would be super cool just to like have like a department in DC just to be like, okay, make all these comics motion comics. I'll be like, okay, I can do this for the rest of my
I'll-
life. So that would be
Well,
awesome. Yeah.
that's what's really unique about this is that a lot of because I love the motion comic medium and everything, but a lot of them on YouTube especially are based off of books that already exist, whereas
Right.
this is something that is being worked on from scratch. One thing I noticed heavily, and it's straight out of it's like a real it is a real comic. A lot of the panel direction and everything. There's I believe when the Reaper shows up, there's a panel that's shaped like the scythe. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Dope, dope, fire,
That's all
you guys are,
Jackson.
yeah, well, y'all are taking it seriously, and I think that's why this is really resonating with people. Um, one request I have, okay,
Uh-huh.
because I know we haven't seen Dick as Robin yet, okay? All
Hmm.
right, I understand this, but green Speedo. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking.
Hey, I
Um,
mean, I don't think Manager Robert Pattinson is just like, all right, you can only be Robin on one condition. I don't know how well that would go over. But no, I like I said, Robin's my favorite superhero. So I definitely wanted to include that progression of their relationship. So all I'll say is I can't wait till part three with their relationship. So it'll be fun. It'll be fun for sure.
Is there a wholly blank Batman?
Well, there is a golly G. I will say there's a golly G.
Okay.
There's
Okay,
I
for
think,
sure.
golly G Batman. But I think there's like a G in this next episode that he says too, but he says the full out golly G. And I think it's just I don't know, I couldn't help myself when writing it because I think it just goes well with like the scene and everything. And I don't know. I don't know how it'll because we haven't like created that page yet because we're still like
Mm,
wrapping up production here of part two in general. But so I can't wait to get to part three's pages. But I like doing like references like that, whether it be like things that they say or just like little nuances like in the background or even like the way that things move around. If it makes sense, and sometimes I'll just do things like I have this really I can't say because it will be a major spoiler, but I have this like really
okay, for sure.
funny like this really niche thing that I want to include in this like huge scene. Um, so I might do that to see how it goes because it might be like funny for like a second, and I think that's all that counts. But it's just like one of those background things I want to throw in there. But yeah, no, that's a story for another day. So we'll see how that goes.
Okay, it's the legendary frame of Batman slapping Robin, isn't it?
Of course, it's when Robin was like, I don't want to put on the Speedo, and then Bruce is like, all right, get out of my face. That's essentially
And
how
then it turns into All-Star Batman and Robin.
exactly. Then it gets into Batman versus Robin and everything, and it just goes from there. It's not a three-part comic anymore. It's gonna be an 18-part comic now.
Oh my God. Well, this is the crime saga for Batman and Matt Reeves' world and everything. Um, and I think most people I talk to, have like a vague idea of where things are headed. It's similar to like, early on Marvel, where Thanos is coming, and you know Thanos is a thing, you know what he looks like and stuff, but you can't imagine like Endgame. Have you
Right.
do you can you imagine what the crime saga looks like in the grand scheme of everything with Batman?
Yeah. Definitely the first thing that comes to mind is Court of Owls. I just feel like it fits well into this universe and in the TV shows I've watched, like Gotham, and then the Gotham Knights CW TV show that came out, I think last year. I love that show so much. Like a lot of these like smaller CW shows, like they get trashed on a lot, but I loved Gotham Knights so much. They did a really good Harvey Dent, but they brought in like, members of the Bat family like Stephanie Brown, um, the other Robin, why is her name is eluding me?
Oh, Carrie Kelly?
Yeah, Carrie Kelly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And them and like the Joker's daughter as well. So it was like a really cool show. And they brought in the Court of Owls as well as like one of their main villains. So it can be done for sure, like on a live action stage. Obviously there was the Court of Owls comic that was huge, and then the movie that it was in. I think that was Batman versus Robin or
Yeah, yeah, it was Batman versus Robin, yeah.
yeah. So
Where
it
they
was.
brought in the Talon.
Yeah, the Talon is dude, imagine the Talon versus a Robert Pattinson Batman. Like I can't
Oh my
imagine
God.
the Talon suit like in a Pattinson or Reeves world would probably look sick. So that I
Yeah.
mean, just based on that alone, it has to happen. But I feel like
It'd
it
be
would
like
be
the
awesome.
raid watching that.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's gonna be crazy.
Huh.
But I think it's like good for like the third movie in a sense. And they threw a Easter egg in there in the Penguin show when he was in the courtroom, and there was literally the owl-shaped curtains in a courtroom. So it's like who
Yeah.
knows how soon they'll get into it. But no, I definitely want to see it. And like I mentioned before too, Two-Face is my favorite Batman villain. And I don't know, I feel like Harvey Dent, you can just do so much with his character, like even pre Two-Face, like just him like in the course of Gotham. I don't know if it was like true. I heard like a floating rumor that they were gonna do like some sort of like Harvey Dent like spin-off show, but it's just like him solving like court cases, kind of like in a not Law and Order, but like I don't know if you know the show like Bull, where it's just like, the team of lawyers just going through cases. I think that'd be cool to have like Harvey Dent just prosecuting like different villains throughout Gotham and just like those cases and things like
In the
that.
Reeves verse?
Yeah, I heard that it was like probably a year ago, but it was like debunked or something. Like I think it was back in the
Oh,
time they were wanting to do like a GCPD show. And
yeah, yeah.
I think Matt Reeves like might have mentioned it in like an interview or something of like him wanting to do something like that. I don't know. Don't take my words for it because my memory is spotty sometimes, but I
Sure,
definitely heard
sure.
about it. I don't know where, so my sources just trust me, bro. But it that would be a cool. I just love Two-Face, so I like.
That would kick ass as a show, dude.
No, for sure. Because it's just like it would just go so well because it's not just like, Batman. It's like literally a guy just solving Gotham's crimes, and you can do so much with that because there's a lot of, crazies in Gotham. So it's another way
Yeah.
of introducing like more villains into the world too. So
Yeah, no, that would be because if they do more of shows like that, you need a lot of variety in terms of the tone and a Two-Face show like that. I don't know if you would call it Two-Face or whatever, but um or like Dent and Associates or whatever,
yeah, that's kind of cool.
that
Associates.
yeah, that would be cool. I yeah, you need like different flavors and everything. So that would be freaking awesome, dude. Who would you want to play Two-Face?
That's a good question. See, as much as I love like, storytelling in films, like I'm awful with actor names and who actors are. Like like I really don't have like an ideal Two-Face casting. Um like I really don't. But I think I don't know, like I said, he's my favorite, but I just think someone who's able to like I want to see a Two-Face because I like a dynamic where he's able to like, be friends with Bruce because like how in the animated series they were friends and other interpretations, they were good friends. Like in Long Halloween and how they were like solving cases together, things like that. Like I want someone who would be able to like be nice enough to like, be the face of the public, but also not be like, afraid to run cases with Batman and things like that. That's kind of what I want to like see out of Two-Face. Like obviously that part, but I think there's a lot you can tap into emotionally because literally he's split in half, like even before the damage to his face and everything like that. And that's one thing too, like because like I said, he's my favorite villain. I've been thinking about like incorporate him into like Matt Reeves's like universe. I'm like, what if they like since he's trying to be like so grounded, what if they don't even like blow off half of his face? Like what if he's just like wearing a mask or something and he's like still being Harvey Dent, but he's like serving the justice that he wants to see, like kind of like as a Batman. But I don't know. I think that could be kind of cool in a sense like where he's just like wearing like one of those like classic play masks or something like that or
Hmm.
something. I don't know. But I think because like they did like a completely different take with Riddler. They made him, like a kind of scary serial killer who's wearing like this, trench coat and a mask and everything like that. Like that was like nothing we've seen before essentially. It's like more towards like Hush. But
Yeah.
I think like having a take like that with like Two-Face of like something different, but also focusing on like the emotional turmoil that he has. Because one thing I loved about the Long Halloween was seeing his relationship with Gilda and how like everything played out there. Um, because I don't know, I just love stuff like that. I love seeing like, people interacting just like in simple ways in a sense, but it has like, emotional undertones or whatever, and you just kind of like see how they are as a person and kind of like how their life plays out in a sense. So something along those lines of just like seeing like who Harvey Dent like really is and like the emotional turmoil that turns him into like, Two-Face essentially would be kind of cool.
Yeah, and man, whoever they get, I would love to see. I mean, that show sounds great. You know, I
For
mean,
sure.
why not? It's a saga and everything. You
Yeah.
know,
Do you
I
have a
really want to
Two-Face
see
actor?
an
Do you have a
actor in
Two-Face?
mind.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna bring up a name, and I will be roasted, and that's fine. But I was thinking like based on just the look of the version in the animated series, like because he's like a big guy, like
Yeah.
he's a imposing dude, and in terms of the age similarity between him and Pattinson, I think he could pull this off. Um, I th This wouldn't be my first choice, but I guess this is the first person coming to mind is Channing Tatum actually. I think he could be pretty interesting.
That name sounds familiar. I can't picture
Uh,
him.
Gambit from Deadpool and
Deadpool
Wolverine.
Wolverine. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, that's
maybe.
no, I could kind of see it. I think because like you said, imposing, bigger actor. So no, I could definitely see it. Like I said, I don't really have anyone in my head. Oh, though I did see this one casting of like Andrew Garfield, and
Oh
I
yeah,
think just on a level of because he's my favorite Spider-Man. On a level of like what Spider-Man would mesh well with that Batman, I think the two of them would go really well together. Because like, in his Spider-Man saga, he was like, I stopped pulling my punches and just like went
yeah.
sicko mode after Gwen died essentially. So I think that would be like cool to have a Batman Spider-Man storyline with the two of them. But also that he's like, kind of Pattinson's age. I don't know how old he is, but I feel like he's got to be around
He's in his
40.
40s.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
I believe.
I feel like he could do a really good job of it because he played a really good Peter Parker in my opinion of like, like he balanced it well with like the emotional aspect and then like the fun side. Like he was really funny. And I think, Two-Face is like charming and everything, and Andrew Garfield's definitely a charming guy. So he might be a cool one. I don't think I saw like an edit of it, but I think I saw someone like Andrew Garfield should be Two-Face. I was like, okay. So
Let's go. I what that works on a meta level also because I think they were roommates, him and Andrew Garfield.
oh really?
Robert Pence. Yeah, like there was a weird like thing that came out like a couple years ago where it was like all these like actors who are now like A-list actors were like roommates in New York, and I think Robert Pattinson was one. I think Eddie Redmayne, Andrew Garfield. I think, yeah, it was like the most bizarre list of
Yeah.
people.
I feel like I might have heard
Crazy.
that before too, that they were roommates. So I think you might be right. I feel like I heard that like a couple years ago or something.
It's meant to be.
Exactly. Yeah, bring them back together.
Um, well, I'm excited to see the next part. I'm excited to see the whole endeavor. And the whole motion comic when it's all ready and everything. What's next for you after the 31st?
Well, after the 31st, for that episode, we are gonna take, well, because January 31st, is episode two of part two. Episode three of part two, which is the final episode of that part, will be out February 27th. And it does kind of get confusing because the comic itself is in three parts, but each part is broken into different episodes. Like on our
Hmm.
website, you can see episode one or part one has five episodes you can read through essentially. So we're like doing an episodic release for like the rest of the comic, at least for part two. So after part two is done in February, like out in the public, there will be a little break between part two and three, like release wise. But I think it'll be fun. I think it's a good way of like getting not only like buzz back around it, but I can like do some more things like promotional wise in a sense because it's kind of hard like balancing
Yeah.
the promotion with the work of it. Because there's like a lot of things I want to do like to promote it, but it's like I don't have like too much time to do that. So I'll have more time. I do want to do like a little teaser for the last episode of part two because it's gonna be like an action-packed episode, that last one. So it's gonna be really fun to hype that up and then hype up the rest of the comics. So I'll have some more time to do that on the next coming months here. So you guys will definitely see a lot more.
Well, the good thing is that the good news is that DC gave you as much time as you need since part two is not
Yeah,
coming out for a couple of years. Uh,
yeah.
so you know you're not gonna be late. Don't worry about it.
For sure. If the Batman can be pushed back like 2, 3 years, then we can release our little comic here at a month at a time and have people wait. So even though I don't want to wait that, I literally like I can't wait to like get to the last page of the comic. Like I think about the last page of our comic almost every day because I'm like, I just want to see that so bad. But we're
Oh,
almost
I know
getting
the feeling.
we're gonna get there. It's 200 plus pages, so it's bound to take a while. So we're over we're like I guess 65 to almost 70% done with the whole thing. So
Oh.
we're getting there. It's been fun.
Hey man, you get to be Batman for the next couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about all that. I like, it's it's cool definitely to do the voice and everything. I don't really like because Batman obviously is like the main character, but it's like we have all these other like talented voice actors for the role, so I like always try to like promote them, and they're like, oh, who voiced Batman? I was like, oh, I did that. So it's just like, yeah, I did that. It doesn't really matter. We can just walk away from that. But no, it's definitely fun. Because I love doing the voice. It's really fun. It's tough to do though. It's not easy to do. Like sometimes my throat will just hurt, and like I can't get my voice as deep as Pattinson's when he's like as Batman, like for long periods of time. So it's always a struggle sometimes to get there. But thankfully the lines are all recorded, though often I'm re-recording lines because I'm like, okay, I just needed to do it one more time. So that's I guess a good thing of being like voicing the main character is if you don't like something, you can just do it again. So
Exactly. You are, it's a passion project. You have it in control. You're taking your time, you're setting yourself up for success. Just enjoy the ride. You know what I mean?
yeah, man. No, it's definitely been a fun ride too. And like I said, a highlight has been like interacting with the Batman community because when I did the project, I was like, I just know it's going to be like well received, like even before I like did the story because the movie was so well received and the fan base around it. Like, I don't know, I feel like we're just all like connected in a way because Batman has like a similar like meaning to all of us in the sense that like hope and just like he's just he's just a cool character. Like you said, he kind of ascends above other fictional characters. So I was like, okay, this is just gonna be a fun ride, and I want to see where it goes. And meeting people like you, because you have like your whole creative endeavor that you've been doing, and the stop motion was the first thing I saw of yours, but I did look through your other stuff, and it's really cool stuff that you're doing. Like I can tell that you have a lot of fun with it, and that's like the main thing too. You got to have a good time in order to like put in the hours that we do to create our passion projects. So the fact that you're having fun with it and putting out what you're doing, and it's definitely a credit to, the work that you've put in. So keep it up.
Thank you. It's all because of Batman. Really, if there was no Batman,
Right. Now, if there was no Batman, I would, I don't know. I don't want to think about that.
no, we're so lucky. We're luckier than we know because Batman exists, man.
Right.
Um, Um, Joshua, thank you so much for giving me the time and thank you for finding it in your schedule. I know it's been crazy these past couple weeks and everything.
Of
Where
course.
can the people find you and this amazing project?
Yeah, so the comic itself, we have our own website, AStoryofTheBatman.com. You can read all the pages of the comic there. You can listen to every song of the soundtrack there. And there's also a place you can donate to the artists too, to the artists, to the musicians, to our translator, Delfina Bozos. Um, she's the Spanish translator, so we have it available in English and Spanish because of her. And she just reached out. She's like, I would love to volunteer to help you translate the comic. I was like, this is great timing, sure. And so we've been able
Yeah,
to do that because of her. So their efforts have been really big. So we have donation pages set up for them specifically, like, and working on the project because it is like paid for some of them to do it. So you can donate there on the website. And then obviously our YouTube it's gonna be Ford Films, like Ford like the car, that's my last name. A Story of the Batman. Um, and you can watch like, the motion comic there. There's a playlist that'll have like all the episodes of it because like I said, part two is broken in a couple episodes on YouTube. So if you wanted to like, just binge it all through, there's a playlist for that. You can just watch all of it through. So that's on our YouTube. We also have an Instagram, which is Ford Films Media. We post like I try to post like a little like behind the scenes snippets, like whether it's on the stories or like even through the posts. And it's been fun interacting with people through there. So there's like the main channels and stuff. I also promote it on my own Twitter, but I barely really use Twitter. But we've gotten a lot of traction from Twitter. Jackson uses Twitter a lot. Jackson Durr does the pencils and inks. And Kay Richardson, they have their own websites too, which I think I linked it in like the main motion comic like description in the video. So we have like links for everyone, the voice actors as well. They have a bio page on our website. So if you're like, who voiced Joe Chill or who voiced Alfred, you can see it on our website and read more about them. And if you want your own Alfred for a project, you can hire him because I feel like he'd make a good real life Alfred too. He has like the look and everything. So James Gunn better like make a
For
movie
real.
before it's too late. So yeah.
I need an Alfred in my life.
Honestly though, I just need like Alfred would be so cool to just like hang out with, He like sure he might be like annoying, but I feel like I just can't get mad at Alfred. Like even when he's like doing his little like cheeky Alfred stuff, I'm like, that's Alfred, all right. So
Alfred.
Papa Alfie, you can't be mad at him.
Exactly. Well, I love your work and everything. I wish you the best of luck. We'll talk soon. We message each other all sorts of Batman stuff and everything. And I'm everyone please check out Joshua's work. It's really exciting. And hey man. Oh, and if you need Oswald, you come to me, all right? Okay?
Yeah,
You're fucking
I
crazy.
Hey, that's convincing enough. I'm gonna make sure it happens. So we'll be in touch on that too.
That's how you put yourself out there. Joshua, thank you so much. This was a pleasure, and thank you again. By the way, for sharing the little stop motion video on your Instagram. Thank you again for that. That was great.
No, of course, dude. Anything I can to help. Like I said, it's been fun, like meeting people like you, like-minded people, and I know like doing shout outs like a little goes a long way, and you deserve all the views for it because it was really well done. So anything I could do to help a brother out, I'll try and do it. So it was no problem.
Oh, thank you so much, man. Well, you take it easy. Guys, thank you so much for listening. Please check out the Batman motion comic, A Story of the Batman. And yeah, have a good one. Stay safe and goodbye.